No one wins when a family fights. That saying is a fitting description for the dysfunction on display following the death of Access Holding as CEO Herbert Wigwe, his wife Doreen, and his son Chizi. Members of the extended Wigwe family say they are fighting for transparency and accountability over the estate belonging to their dearly departed son and brother. But in response to their actions have been accusations of deceit, entitlement, and greed. The extended family is also being accused of moving appropriate assets willed by Herbert Wigwe for his surviving 4 children. To be clear, financial provisions were made by Wigwe for his aged parents, but he was silent on his siblings. They want his assets to be audited and shared among the wider family with a view to protect the minor Wigwe children in line with African tradition. While Herbert Wigwe's partners, managers, and surviving children want the assets to continue to grow for the sake of the direct generations to come. Indeed, Arise News has verified that since his death, his partners and children have grown his assets in excess. We will tell you more as the story continues. But the question before us is, can Herbert Wigwe's will be changed to accommodate the family who were left out of his wishes? This is what Arise News seeks to find out. The story continues with this report by Adefemi Akinsanya.
Death always does its job, especially when it's unexpected. It takes life, amplifies pain, and sometimes sets the scene for a showdown. Herbert Wigwe died alongside his wife Doreen, firstborn son Chizi, his friend Abimbola Ogunbanjo, and accompanying pilots in a helicopter crash on February 9th, 2024. In the years since then, trailing the inexplicable pain is a family at war. Their weapons, accusations and lawsuits. Their goal, control of the assets in order for them to be distributed to the extended family. In their way are Herbert's partners, managers, and surviving children who want the assets to continue to grow for the sake of the direct generations to come. But to understand today's war, let's take a few steps back and speak anonymously to the generals and lieutenants who have fought the battles of the past. This is the Herbert Wigwe family feud, his story and its aftermath. Herbert Wigwe, alongside his family and other guests, had travelled to the United States for the Super Bowl 4 times. The 2024 edition of the American football match, which took place in Las Vegas, Nevada, was no different. But before embarking on that trip via London, Wigwe had unfinished business to attend to in Nigeria.
Herbert said he wanted to go to Abuja before flying to London. While in Abuja, he actually went to see the Minister for Aviation. He was trying to get some branding for Port Harcourt Airport in respect of Wigwe University. It was a good meeting, and I recollect he made a statement after leaving the minister. This one that everything is going well, everything is working immediately. I hope death is not coming. He's the kind of person that is always conscious of tomorrow, may never be. He mentioned death carelessly, so I didn't think anything of it.
Heading back to Lagos after this short trip to Abuja, there was an issue with the aircraft.
The aircraft that took him to Abuja had hydraulic issues. They already started taxiing, but they had to come back. At the end of the day, it was his aircraft that eventually went to Abuja to bring him back because he couldn't take that risk. Eventually, he came to Lagos late midnight and we flew out to London. The other side of the story is about Chizi. During the day, Chizi sent me the message that he wanted to bring his girlfriend along on the trip to the Super Bowl. Herbert is a very disciplined person, so I told Chizi to ask his father. His father said no. Chizi got angry and said he wasn't coming again. I told the pilot to take his name off the manifest. We got to London Wednesday morning. Herbert had some board meetings. Thursday evening, Chizi went out with his friends. He was supposed to come back, but he didn't come back. The following morning, Herbert went for his board meeting at Access UK. When he came back home, Chizi was still not back. His mom started calling him. He was actually with his friend. It's not like we didn't know where he was, but we were already running late to go to the airport. He kept us at home for another 2 hours. I have to say all of this for you to understand body language. Chizi did not want to embark on that trip. When he came, he told his mother Super Bowl wasn't his priority, but we all got to the car, got to the airport, and they departed.
The journey from London to Palm Springs, California took 11 hours. By the time they arrived, night had fallen, and the decision was made to take a helicopter from Palm Springs to Las Vegas, an air journey of about 1 hour and 30 minutes. According to sources close to the family, one of Herbert's assistants felt uncomfortable flying in a helicopter at night and told Herbert so, to which Herbert assured him that this is America, not Africa, and things are organised here. In a twisted turn of fate, that same assistant was the only survivor of that trip because he opted to travel the 232-mile journey by road for the safety of the luggage. That journey took 4 hours.
When you have a phone conversation with Herbert, when he says thank you, he doesn't say it once. He says thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's why I usually leave the phone for him to end up rather than me, because I enjoy hearing that voice. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And that was the last thing I heard from him.
Also developing tonight, the CEO of one of Nigeria's largest banks, along with his wife and son, were among the 6 killed in a helicopter crash last night in Southern California.
The helicopter was operated by...
American media reported a helicopter crash with a leading African banker on board, confirming there were no survivors. Soon after, the rest of the world became aware of the devastating loss that had occurred. And so the work of life after death began. 4 bodies were brought back to Nigeria. Funerals were held as the world said farewell in a blaze of glory. As the sun set that day, what was left behind was clear. His 4 children, the eldest among them, is 26-year-old NYU and Imperial College London graduate Otutochi Wigwe, as well as his aged parents, Pastor Shingle Wigwe and Lady Stella, Herbert's own siblings, Joyce, Stella, Emeka and Peggy, and then his 2013 will, as well as several trusts around the world.
Please be reminded of the exit protocol.
At the first year memorial service held in Lagos on February 9th, 2025, Herbert Wigwe's dear friend and Access co-founder, Aigboje Aigimokwede, told the surviving Wigwe children, Tochi, David, Hannah and Okachi, that they were his, in the same way his own children were Herbert's, a symbol of guardianship and implementation of the trust deeds they both signed to protect themselves and their immediate families for the next 10 generations. But could his words have drawn a battle line with the extended Wigwe family, who were not in attendance?
Most difficult year we've ever been through.
On the 27th of February 2025, an exclusive interview with one of Herbert Wigwe's older sisters, Joyce, was published. In it, she takes aim at Aigboje Imokwede.
So Ike had graciously been providing stipend the way Herbert was providing stipend for my parents. But after the caveat, we noticed he stopped. When he was asked why he stopped by mediators, and he said because he believed that my father was using the money he was providing for him to pay lawyers to sue him, and so he would not give him any money because he believed the money was coming from, it's from his pocket, Iboje. And we said, oh, thank you so much for being so gracious. But we believe that Herbert's estate has enough money to look after his parents. So please, can we get an interim, we'll file an interim application of the court to let us know Herbert's interest in Access Bank, 10-gen, coronation, his life insurance, and all the things that pertain to Herbert.
What Joyce didn't say was that the extended Wigwe family has also filed to challenge Tochi, Herbert's eldest surviving daughter's position as administrator of her father's estate and guardian of her younger siblings in lawsuit number 7735FPM. The court appointed Tochi the guardian, but under pressure from his own children, her grandfather, Shingo Wigwe, appealed the ruling. It is this, more than anything, that has set the stage for the current impasse, pitting a granddaughter against her grandfather and paternal aunts and uncles. Following the broadcast of this interview, Arise News has accessed sensitive information, including legal documents, WhatsApp messages, and eyewitness testimony. Those materials have been independently verified and thus will be included in this report, but cannot be attributed to any one person or entity. Here is a quote from a family friend who insists on correcting Joyce Wigwe's narrative.
One time, there was an argument where Joyce cursed Herbert. They were arguing because she was asking him for things. Joyce told Herbert, in quote, "That's your plane. One day, your plane will crash. Calm down. Money will be scattering. The money you spend on girls will scatter." This is the type of relationship they had. Joyce was very, very unhappy with Herbert because she thought Herbert would have done much for her than he did. She had an extremely dysfunctional relationship with her brother. For example, Herbert had a big falling out with his dad because his sister wanted to send her two children to one of the most expensive schools in the world, in Switzerland, where the school fees were over $100,000 per year. Herbert's kids were in school in England, costing him max £60,000. Herbert tried his best to pay, but then after a while, he said forget it. Herbert's father then intervened, but Herbert did not relent. Nobody has a problem with looking after relatives. We all do that. But certain people have a problem with doing it when the demands are done in an unconscionable and entitled manner. Joyce should give one instance in her life when Herbert entrusted her with anything of value. She should give an instance where Herbert gave her the key to his kitchen to hold. That tells you everything. You don't need to go on TV and tell a story. If indeed the relationship was like what she says, you would see her come and show you that is what Herbert gave me. Not even a note. So don't conjure up noise and fabricate these stories.
During the interview, Joyce Wigwe made reference to financial support her father had received following Herbert's death. Arise News checks reveal this verified spreadsheet of payments made to Herbert Wigwe's siblings, including Joyce herself. Joyce had medical fees to the tune of $14,000 paid off in full. School fees she requested for more than $18,000 worth also paid in full. The reimbursement of flights, rent, monthly allowances and other expenses total more than 280 million naira since Herbert's death. And for Herbert Wigwe's parents, Pastor Shingo and Stella, it's a similar story. Commercial flights, private jet charters to the tune of $365,000 for 5 trips between April and August 2024. Luxury hotel stays, visa processing and medical costs reach nearly 1 billion naira. All of this, nearly $500,000 worth of expenses, indicate a positive relationship between members of the extended Wigwe family and Herbert Wigwe's partners. However, signs that all was not well continued to become apparent when the extended Wigwe family filed a caveat in October 2024 over the administration of Herbert Wigwe's estate. The caveat was filed at the High Court in Lagos by Christian Chukwuka Wigwe, a cousin of Herbert's. In it, he questions the lodging of Wigwe's will in Nigeria when it was executed in 2013 in the United States. He accuses Agimokwode of withholding information regarding Wigwe's estate from his father, Pastor Shingle Wigwe, also of controlling Wigwe's assets and having access to Herbert Wigwe's funds. Further, he says Agimokwode has neither provided any formal updates on how expenses are being met nor disclosed their impact on the overall estate. All of this culminating in accusations of a scheme orchestrated, they say, by Agimokwode, who he refers to as a controlling agent, in order to install Uche Wigwe, a first cousin of Herbert's, as both a personal representative of the deceased estate and the guardian of the minor children while being under Agimokwede's influence. Arise News was unable to secure Igboje Agimokwede's response to these claims as he remains silent.
Can you just be transparent as to what belongs to Herbert? Igboje refuses to answer. You have all the properties, you have the children.
However, Arise checks against independent payment systems reveal a host of information. In August 2024, financial services firm PricewaterhouseCoopers released this proposal for independent assessment services for Herbert Wigwe's estate. And in this letter, dated the 23rd of September 2024, another financial services firm, KPMG, was formally engaged to compile Herbert Wigwe's assets. Now, neither PwC nor KPMG have responded to Arise's request for information regarding the completion of their efforts, citing confidentiality. But all of these documents have been made available to Herbert's daughter, Tochi, who jointly commissioned them. Therefore, shouldn't the larger Wigwe family be engaging with their daughter, Tochi, instead of Agimokwode? Well, therein lies this conundrum. Now, that position becomes even more difficult to do given that the extended Wigwe family already challenged Tochi's position as an administrator in court.
So tell me what a 25-year-old girl, whose parents were suddenly taken away and left at the mercy with no help from grandparents or uncles or aunties, she's left in the middle there and she said, oh, you are going to make the decision. She had barely walked a month or two before her parents passed. Where is she going to get the business acumen, the knowledge from without the help from family members to be able to go through it? Besides, she's gone through an extremely difficult time losing her closest sibling and her parents. How can she then be of such sharp business acumen, such sharp mind that she's going to make such complex business decisions?
It's worth noting that Access Bank is a public liability company with millions of shareholders in Nigeria and around the world. Herbert Wigwe and Igboje Agimokwode are co-founders, not owners. But as far as shares in Access Holdings are concerned, from December 2023, before Herbert's death, his direct shares totaled 201.2 million. In terms of his indirect shares, they totaled 2.38 billion. Now, those refer to his holdings in different companies: United Alliance, Coronation Trustees, Tengen Mauritius, and Coronation Securities Limited. Fast forward to January 2025, and the shares have grown significantly since Herbert Wigwe's death. The lion's share of that growth can be attributable to the Access Holdings rights issue of 17.77 billion ordinary shares floated between July and August 2024. A source close to Wigwe's partners says this growth in shares is an example of how well his financial legacy is being taken care of. Money aside, there's also the issue of the guardianship of the surviving Wigwe children.
Can you allow the family to bring up the children in the way we have brought up our children, with nurture, love, and Christian values?
And questions have been raised over the quality of care Herbert Wigwe's siblings could offer the surviving children.
Emeka Wigwe is unbalanced and extremely violent. He has grabbed Tochi out of function, dragged her from one part of the room to the other in the village. During Christmas, Joyce took Tochi into a room and questioned her for 4.5 hours. Joyce asked Tochi why she wasn't aligning with her grandfather in court, saying he was most affected by Herbert's death. Imagine saying that to someone who lost both parents and a sibling at once. It is the most psychopathic thing to do. Even in the proceedings, they said Tochi is unmarried and have given reasons as to why they should either take guardianship from Tochi or supervise Tochi in guardianship of the children. Tochi has more intelligence than Joyce. Tochi has greater capacity than her.
The back and forth of this tragedy's aftermath has been pulling at Pastor Shingo Wigwe, who has lived for 90 years with integrity. He remains torn between protecting his surviving children, the siblings to Herbert on one hand, and then on the other, the apples of his eyes, his grandchildren, born to Herbert, who are charting their own course without their uncles and aunts. Perhaps the issue is how the larger Wigwe family can bring Tochi on board without any court process. This is now a question of trust. Beside whom do the Wigwe children stand? Who should hold the keys to the empire? The family who bore the titan who created the wealth, or the comrades with whom the wealth was created? Can all parties, Wigwe or otherwise, come together to do the work of making peace? Or, as has already been the case, with the destruction of death, continue to do its job better? Adefemi Akinsoya for Arise News.
Pertinent questions raised there by Adefemi Akinsoya about the estate of the late Herbert